Hey everyone, this is Todd Stashwick from 12 Monkeys, maybe Heroes, Gotham, and currently I can be seen as Captain Liam Shaw from Star Trek Picard.
This is your pal, Pat Jankiewicz, author of the 2-pound Greatest American Hero Companion.
Hey everyone, this is Catherine Mary Stewart from Night of the Comet and The Last Starfighter.
Hey everyone, this is Lance Guest from The Last Starfighter.
Hey everyone, this is Andy Robinson.
Hey everyone, it's Neal McDonough. You're listening to Comic Book Central.
Hey everybody, this is Vincent D'Onofrio.
Hey everyone, this is Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn, co-creator of Venom.
Hey comic book fans, this is Dave Dastmalchian. You may know me from The Dark Knight, the Ant-Man films, The Flash. Who knows what may be coming up? And you are listening to Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life.
Welcome one and all. This is Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life, the world's first podcast devoted to in-depth interviews with the talented folks who bring comics to life in film, television, animation, video games, podcasts, and beyond. I am your host, Joe Stuber. Welcome to my 11th anniversary special, a look back at the memorable moments from the past year of the show. I am so glad you are all here in the lair today to celebrate this anniversary with me. Now, you heard from a few of the guests at the top of the show today. Going to revisit a few moments with them, going to get to your anniversary greetings and some of your favorite guests, and I have an announcement for my annual giveaway. You do not want to miss that. One thing I want to mention before we get to the anniversary celebration today, I want to give my thanks to the marketing team at IHOP. Yeah, the International House of Pancakes. Many of you listeners out there know what a huge Indiana Jones fan I am. Their latest promotion over at IHOP definitely got my attention. They've teamed up with Xbox, and Xbox is releasing their new Indiana Jones game. That would be Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on December 9th. Well, this week, IHOP not only premiered their Indiana Jones themed breakfast specials in restaurants, they're giving guests a chance to get their hands on some cool indie and Xbox-themed merchandise, including, and this is what I got my hands on, a set of limited edition collectible glasses featuring original artwork by Matt Taylor for Xbox titles like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Halo Infinite, Sea of Thieves, and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, alongside a limited edition IHOP gift card series sporting similar designs from those titles. Now, their talented team was nice enough to send the set of glasses to me, and I have to say I was blown away. They actually sent an entire IHOP display. It's a very cool display. It's very techy, very video gamey, along with the glasses. The artwork on these things is incredible. You can check out the pictures at my feeds at Facebook, X, and Blue Sky. I'm over on Blue Sky now as well. Check those out for a look at what arrived here in the lair. Man, I've got to make some more room for this bad boy here. I just took my Indiana Jones corner out. Now I got to redo it again. But you want to check out IHOP.com for details on all the merchandise you can get, the Xbox prizes you could win. There's a bunch of stuff out there. I'm going to put that link in the show notes for this episode at my website, comicbookcentral.net, to make it easier for you all to find. Be sure to check it out. Be sure to head to IHOP for that Indiana Jones themed breakfast. I'm going to be doing that this weekend. And be sure to tell them Stuberman sent you. All right. Yeah, that's my anniversary gift to myself here in the lair. Loved unpacking that one. And we do have an anniversary celebration we got to get to. That's why you're here, right? First, I'm going to take a moment to pay a few bills. Hey, look, these anniversary shows, they don't come cheap, right? Check this out. Then we are going to celebrate 11 years of Comic Book Central.
There's nothing better than a Saturday morning spent gaming with something delicious to eat, which makes Xbox and IHOP the perfect combination. When you're done playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on Xbox, come on into IHOP for favorites like our new fully loaded French toast. And get access to exclusive Xbox merch. Gaming just got a whole lot sweeter. Only at IHOP. Let's put a smile on your plate.
All right, it is party time, and I have to mention that I could not do this show 11 years in running without all of you out there. You have followed on the socials, Facebook, X, Twitter, whatever it's called, Blue Sky. A lot of you are over there now, so I started a Blue Sky page for all of you who are over there, so be sure to follow there. I appreciate you following Comic Book Central on all these channels. I've been recording a lot of these chats on video and dropping them on the YouTube channel. Many of you have subscribed over there, so thank you for doing that. If you're just checking out the audio version of the show here and there, glad to have you on board here in the lair. But be sure to follow and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. You don't want to miss a moment of everything that happens, and there's so much that goes on. So many great conversations. You want to hear them all. And be sure to watch the show on YouTube. If you're chilling out at home or wherever and you want something fun to watch, Comic Book Central's there, right? All right. And of course, share the lair. I love when you all share the lair. Share the show with others. Let them join in on the fun as well. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Glad to have you on board. Here is a little background on Comic Book Central. The show premiered on November 8th, 2013. My guest on that very first episode, none other than the godfather of comic books, Stan the Man Lee. He is so missed. And over the past 11 years, I have welcomed 546 guests to the lair. You can find each and every episode of the show in the archive at comicbookcentral.net. Also, the show's page at Spreaker.com, Apple Podcasts. Be sure you subscribe there. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast, the Comic Book Central lair is there. And of course, as I mentioned, the YouTube channel as well. I mentioned Indiana Jones. I'm a huge fan. Many of you are Indiana Jones fans. Lots of Indiana Jones content over on the Comic Book Central YouTube channel. So, and look, need some subscribers over there. So let's go get those numbers up. Go click that subscribe button. All right, let's get to some of your anniversary greetings. First up, let's check in with listener Dave Bratton.
All bow before me, your ruler, Emperor Palpatine. 11 years of Comic Book Central. Most impressive, my young apprentice. Arise, Joseph Stuber. Take your place at my side.
Hold on a second there, wrinkly old guy. Joe's not evil. He just has a great podcast. This is Dave Bratton, the creator of the action figure comedy YouTube channel and all-around pop culture fan. Joe, I love what you've done with your podcast and channel, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish over the next 11 years. 11 is an actual unit of time, right?
Hey, nice job on that, Dave. Really appreciate it. And thanks for checking in. Always good to hear from the Emperor, of course. All right, next up, we're going to hear from some of my buddies and podcasting pals from the IndieCast. That is the world's #1 Indiana Jones fan podcast. Look, I told you I love Indiana Jones, right? From the IndieCast, first up here is Indiana Mick.
Hey, guys, this is Chris O'Keefe, Indiana Mick from the IndieCast. Wishing Joe Stuber at Comic Book Central a happy 11th anniversary. Great guests, great conversations, interviews, and a lot of interesting stuff. Keep up the great work, Joe, and here's to 11 more. Take care.
Hey, thanks, Indiana Mick. Always great to hear from you, and always nice to hear from my Indiana Jones partner on the IndieCast, Keith Voss. Now, Keith and I have produced nearly 100 segments for the show called The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, where we reviewed all of the Indiana Jones comics, and we've talked to a lot of the Marvel Comics and Dark Horse creators of those stories. So take it away, Keith.
Hey, Joe, it's your old buddy Keith Voss from the IndieCast, wishing you a very happy 11th anniversary for Comic Book Central. Amazing. 11 years goes by so fast. Gonna need to drink from the Grail soon to make sure we can keep going on and on and on and on. Wishing you all the best, my friend. Many, many more. Excelsior.
Hey, thanks, Keith. And you listeners out there, if you want to hear those fantastic interviews and comic book reviews from both myself and Keith, make sure you check out the Comic Book Central YouTube channel. I posted all those Further Adventures IndieCast segments into the Indiana Jones playlist over there just to make them all easier to find. So those are all there if you want to check them out. Again, subscribe while you're there. I really appreciate that. And yet another IndieCast buddy dropped by the lair to say happy anniversary. Not only do I get to podcast with him, I get to meet up with him every summer at Terrificon, Connecticut's #1 comic book and pop culture convention. Here is my pal, Ron Longo.
Hey, Joe, it's your buddy Ron, and congratulations on the 11th anniversary. It always seems that these things come up so quickly, Joe. I feel like I'm always recording an anniversary greeting for you. I hope things slow down a little bit, but one thing that will never slow down is Joe Stuber and his amazing interviews that he has all the time. Joe, I love it, especially when you interview authors of some of these great books. And because of you, I went out and bought a lot of these books. So I guess they're going to thank you on the back end too. Joe, as usual, I had a great time seeing you and your wife this summer. We had a wonderful time at Terrificon. Got to have dinner with you both nights, which were great. Got to catch up on a lot of fun comic book stuff and, of course, Indiana Jones stuff. So I can't wait until next summer to be seeing you guys again. And Joe, again, congratulations on your 11th anniversary, and keep it going.
Hey, Ron, thanks so much. Always enjoy our Terrificon adventures. 2025 is shaping up to be another epic show. Terrificon.com. Get your tickets now and join Ron and myself and also Mitch Halleck, who runs the whole show. He's over on the IndieCast as well. It's interesting that Ron mentioned author interviews. I had a lot of those this past year on Comic Book Central. FYI, many more to come in the next year. But over this past year, I've chatted with James Bond and superhero author Mark Edlitz, pop culture author Rick Green, Marvel legend Roy Thomas. He was here. I've put links to their amazing books in the show notes for their specific episodes, so be sure to add those books to your libraries. And one other author who joined me this past year, and he is a fave of listener Nancy Johnson, who writes, "Happy anniversary with wishes for many more. Every interview about the greatest American hero is my favorite on Comic Book Central." Well, thanks for writing in, Nancy. And yeah, there have been a bunch of them over the years. And I know you were stoked for episode 458, where I sat down to chat with the author of The Greatest American Hero Companion, Pat Jankiewicz. Now, Pat previously stopped by the Lair to talk about his pop culture reference books on Buck Rogers, The Incredible Hulk, and the Jaws franchise. All amazing books. Those are out there. Be sure to go get them. And now he has written the authoritative book on one of the best superhero shows of all time, of course, The Greatest American Hero. Here is Pat talking about how he knew the saga of Ralph Hinckley was going to be the basis of his next book.
Hero fans are a really hardy breed. This is the smallest franchise I've ever done a book about. And the wildest thing about it is my brother Stephen begged me not to write this. He said, it's too small. I think you finally found something that nobody's going to buy because it's too small a show. I mean, my brother Steve
he didn't see the DVD sales.
Yeah, Stephen's always been the golden retriever in our family. He's always found the stuff. Right. Anything he picks usually pays off. And then last year, he was helping me cover, he was always my photographer at San Diego Comic-Con. And I was on a panel, on a writing panel, and they listed me as Pat Jankiewicz, author of The Greatest American Hero Companion. And we came out of the panel, and 3 different people stopped me to sign the book. Yeah. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm glad you didn't listen to me." This book, like you said, Fennell himself acknowledges the book of all the shows, 50 years in the business, the guy created show after show after show. Nothing.
Rockford Files.
Yeah, right. Rockford Files, A-Team, Riptide. The guy knows cult followings. The guy knows hit shows.
Yep.
Nothing did the business for him like Greatest American Hero.
All right, next I heard from listener Chris Maeda, who wrote, "Well, I started following you because you had Andrew Robinson on. Thank you for that. I enjoyed that interview." Well, you are quite welcome, Chris. Glad to have you on board. Glad to have you here in the Lair. Be sure to catch up with all those episodes that are out there. But yeah, it's always been a dream of mine to welcome Andrew to the show. It finally happened. And I even got to meet up with him in person at Terrificon this summer. Look, I told you out there, you all need to get to Terrificon. That's where all the great adventures happen. One other person mentioned Andrew as a favorite guest, and that would be Kenny B., who loved quite a few other episodes as well.
Hey, Joe, this is Totally Rocking Kenny B., segment producer for Monster Kid Radio, calling you from Sonora, Mexico, celebrating another anniversary with you, and praising you for another great year of Comic Book Central. You had 2 I Can't Believe You Got Them episodes this year with J.K. Simmons and Whoopi Goldberg. Good job working the publicity machine to land those working superstars. My 2 favorite episodes this year were your interviews with Andrew Robinson and Joey Pants. I love hearing about the work they've done and come off as very nice guys. fun to listen to. Looking forward to another great year of Comic Book Central. Keep up the good work, Joe. We'll have more next year. For MKR, this is Kenny saying adios.
Hey, thanks for sending that in, Kenny. Yeah, those were some heavy hitters and my faves as well. Let's listen to a few moments from those epic interviews. First, J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson himself, he talks about suiting up as Spider-Man in a scene from the film that was deleted. I interviewed J.K. alongside his incredibly talented wife, Michelle Schumacher, who is a writer-director. Then you're going to hear from Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg. She's going to talk about the importance of Star Trek to her personally, and then also getting the role of Guinan in Next Generation. Then, Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Andrew Robinson, he dropped by. But folks, I got to tell you, I am a Dirty Harry fan. You know I had to ask him about the iconic Clint Eastwood flick. Here are those moments from those 3 interviews. There's a deleted scene in Spider-Man 2 where you put the costume on. I don't know how much press this thing gets. Why was that cut? And Michelle, did he bring the costume home?
That I will never tell. But you can finish.
There would be security issues on the Sony lot.
All right. Why was that cut? Why?
Car chase. Sam joked about that being Spider-Man 2.5 is going to be, me in that outfit, which, by the way, they did not spend the money to build me a costume. So literally a shoehorn and baby powder were involved with getting my frame into one of the stunt doubles costumes on that day. But it was very...
I heard you looked too good in it, and that's why they had to cut it, because you would have taken something away from Toby. But you did look good in it. I like that it exists out there.
Yeah.
Uhura was the first character that made me aware of where I had not been. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I grew up watching sci-fi. We were never there. We were never in sci-fi movies, but I never noticed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't
all white dudes. Back in the day, back in the 50s, it was all early 60s, all white dudes. Yeah,
yes. And when I saw her there, I thought, there I am. Oh, so I am here. Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
And barking orders and standing up to Kirk and doing things and mirror universe stuff.
Communications director.
Yeah.
And hot as AF. Come on.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my goodness. And I started seeing where I wasn't.
Yeah.
And it started because of LeVar. LeVar and I were having lunch. I said, so what are you up to? He said, well, I'm just about to do this reboot of Star Trek. I was like, what?
Star Trek.
I said, listen, can you ask them if I could come and maybe play a little bit? And he said, yeah, sure. And then I didn't hear anything for a year. And then I ran into him. And I said, did you ever end up doing that thing? He said, oh, yeah, it's really good. I said, yeah, I know. Did you tell them? He said, they never called. I said, no. He said, well, I did tell them. I said, give me somebody's number so I could call them right now and tell them I'm standing with you. And that's what we do. We talk to Rick and Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
And I said, can I just come in and explain why I want to do this? Because I really do want to do it. And they were like, okay. So I went over to Paramount and I said, listen, you don't understand. Before Star Trek, there were no black people in the future. We just didn't exist. We had Russian people. We had Japanese people. There are no black people in the future. And Gene said to me, that can't be true. I said, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. He said, well, we'll talk some more. Let me think about all of this. And 2 days later, Gene called my house and he said, I just got through going through a lot of things on a lot of television, a lot of movies, and you're absolutely right. There are no black people in the future. I said, yeah. I said, and I want to be that for some other kid who may not be sure. He said, done. And he wrote Guinan for me.
Okay, this is going to be full confessional time for me because we're going to talk Trek today. Obviously, there's so many different roles. You've done so much episodic television, but I'm a huge Clint Eastwood fan. I don't know how tired you are of talking about Dirty Harry or the line that gets said to you in the movie. I don't know, but I can tell you as a kid growing up, my buddies and we used to skip school and stay home and watch Clint Eastwood movies. This is full confessional time. We used to watch Clint Eastwood movies and became obsessed with Dirty Harry. We became obsessed with Scorpio, his crazy belt buckle, the crazy maniacal laugh. I've got a buddy of mine, Tim. He wants to know, what did you channel to be able to play Scorpio? And to this day, still one of the greatest film villains of all time. Easily.
And for one thing, Joe, I never tire of talking about it because it was a great experience. Good. I was working with a brilliant director. I mean, he was the best director I've ever worked with in terms of film. I mean, it kind of spoiled me. And I loved the character so much, I mean, and it's a weird thing to say when you're talking about a psychotic serial killer. But it was a joy to play, and your question about what was I channeling? It's the simple answer to that is probably a lot of anger that I had. But on the other hand, going back to talking about the imagination, as an actor, the imagination is a real tool. It's not just some kind of airy-fairy concept. It's a tool that we use to imagine, to live in imagined circumstances. And and any character that you play, you have to go there. You have to go to that character where that character lives within you. And so I went to that place within me that could experience as much as possible those emotions, those violent emotions, and so forth. But that's it. But it's called acting. That's what acting is.
Fantastic guests. That is what you get right here on Comic Book Central each and every episode. Speaking of fantastic guests and anniversaries, you all know I love celebrating pop culture anniversaries here on the show. This year, I jumped back in time to 1984 to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the sci-fi classic, The Last Starfighter. Oh, that's one of my favorite films. And from the reaction of you all out there, you love the film as well. I heard from a bunch of you. The film stars Lance Guest and Catherine Mary Stewart. They dropped by, and I got some great insight on a few things. First, Lance Guest, The Last Starfighter himself, we were talking about another co-star in the movie, the great Robert Preston, and that actually led to Lance giving me some background information on a story I first heard way back on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. That was back in the day. Johnny's guest that night was none other than Michael J. Fox, who talked about his early acting days being lean and mean, and he had to sell off the sectional couch that he had to pay the bills. Well, after all these years, I finally found out, hey, guess who he sold it to? And the Robert Preston being in it, first of all, Hollywood legend, that had to be mind-blowing too. But it's just like, there's almost like this Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd relationship between you two. Like, do you get that? Or did you sense that at the time? Or did you kind of feel like...
Well, we did it first, so that didn't exist.
Right. Okay.
Michael J. Fox, Christopher...
So there was a Lance Guest, Robert Preston dynamic in Back to the Future.
Except, in the case of Chris and Mike, they're like this. In the case of Bob and me, it was like this.
That's true.
Bob's like maybe 5'8".
Your action figure would be much taller.
Mike used to live, I lived in my college apartment. Mike lived 2 doors down from me in my college apartment in like 1980 to 1982, I think.
Okay.
And so I remember his phone went out. He didn't pay his phone, but he was really broke.
Right.
And he came up and he came over and said, "Hey man, I'm expecting a phone call." I gave him your number. Do you mind, just grabbing me and yeah, sure, man, whatever, So I'm reading the papers. I'm knocking. Our phone rings. Hello, can I speak with Michael J. Fox, please? Oh, yeah. Knock, knock, knock. Mike, phone. So he comes over. Yep. Great. Family Ties deal. So like I was there, you know.
Were you one of the
was it
ones
good?
buying pieces of his sectional couch as he was
I
selling it up?
was. I was the guy. That was me.
yes. I never knew the other side of that story. Now I do. It's
me.
Lance Guest. That's
Yes,
so
well,
fantastic.
It was one of those ones at the corner.
Yeah.
So I didn't have room for a corner. So he
Right.
sold me, one half of the corner.
That's great. Yeah, finally got the other side of that sectional couch story. That was pretty cool. And also got a ton of great Last Starfighter stories as well, including some from Lance's co-star, Catherine Mary Stewart. Now, this being Comic Book Central, I had to ask her about her comic book counterpart in Marvel Comics adaptation of the film. Look, it's Comic Book Central. I got to ask you, you got the comic books?
Oh, I don't have all of them. I have one of them.
Okay. You have this. This is the full.
I think
one,
I have
and
that
there's,
one.
like the little,
yeah.
the mini ones,
Right.
The single
Right.
issues. They took some liberties with your character in this one, I think. Right? Look, Jackson Geist does the cover. I think he did a solid job on the cover.
Yeah.
If you're watching the YouTube channel, it's not bad. But the inside, have you seen it? You've seen it.
I have seen it.
What do you think about you and your wardrobe inside?
I know. I ended up. I ended up really super sexy.
Yeah,
And-
there's
and
like
in
a
a
halter top and
way-
like Daisy Dukes.
Hey, Daisy Dukes. Yes, that was who I was trying to remember. These tiny little short shorts. And
Yeah.
I'm always in this like really sexy sort of, Alex,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, the
giant,
cheesecake pose.
Yeah, the cheesecake pose, and I have giant boobs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sort of, I feel like, well, yeah, that really isn't the character, but
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
Yeah. Did you get the comics at the time, like back in '84? Did they send it? Like, did you go?
No,
Whoa,
they did
that's
not.
me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get them at the time. I got them later somehow. I got some of them later, and it was just like, holy moly, what the heck?
Yeah, it's very. I think what happened with Marvel was they didn't get likeness rights. They would get the rights to do the adaptations because they did Conan. They did. They did everything back in the day, James Bond films and stuff. But I don't think they had likeness rights. Like you didn't give them your likeness rights at all.
Oh no, not even a little bit. No. So yeah, they took some liberties there. And of course it's totally sexist and it's just ridiculous. But I mean, what are you gonna do? But I'm not gonna get mad. It's a comic book and it makes me laugh.
No, you're immortalized in comic book history forever.
Hello.
I really enjoyed celebrating the 40th anniversary of that film with them. Great episodes. If you haven't heard them, be sure to go back into the archive and check them out. All right, let's go to another email I heard from longtime listener Oli Almeida. Oli wrote in and said, "Wow, 11 years. Congrats. I can't wait to see what you have in store for 2025. My favorite guest was Armin Shimerman of Star Trek Deep Space Nine." As always, thanks, Oli, for listening and for sharing. And yeah, Armin was one of my favorite guests as well. Again, I caught up with him at Terrificon as well. Did I mention that the coolest kids hang out at Terrificon? I always wanted to chat with Armin. He was as nice as could be. Here he is talking about what made Deep Space Nine so different from the Star Trek storytelling that preceded it. I think there was a dynamic, too, with Next Generation where that it had to be this action-adventure sort of series, and Deep Space Nine had such a different tone to it. It was almost about relationships, dysfunctional relationships, which they hadn't really seen too much in the Star Trek universe before. Did you get a sense when you were filming it that you guys were just completely coming at it with a different tone?
Yes, I was completely aware of that. All of our characters were flawed. Some more than others, certainly mine was. But they were all flawed, which you had never seen on Next Generation. You certainly hadn't seen on the original show. And because of that, I think we had much more interesting stories. We weren't about going to planet and in 43 minutes solving a planet's problems. We were gradually figuring out how to solve our own problems, how individuals who didn't necessarily like each other needed to live together and to work together. And how do you do that? And I think everybody who is in the workplace has to deal with that same problem no matter what they do.
Yeah, a message that resonates now more than ever. Great stuff there with Armin from Terrificon. as I've mentioned on the show, I got a bit of a preview of what's headed our way in Terrificon 2025. Trust me, you want to get your tickets now. Unbelievable guests this year. Going to be even more unbelievable guests there next summer. The tickets are available right now at Terrificon.com, so be sure to go over there and get them. Join us for all the fun. You get in on those Q&As that I moderate. You ask your questions. You meet the celebrities. It's always a blast. And I also got to give a shout out to the folks at Fandom Spotlight as well. All of my Terrificon Q&As and all of their Terrificon Q&As, all the Terrificon Q&As, you can catch the video versions of those at the Fandom Spotlight YouTube channel. So subscribe there, subscribe to Comic Book Central on YouTube. Their team is always kind enough to send the audio that they record along to me here. It makes it my job easier. I don't have to mess with it when I'm there. So they record it, they send it over here, and then I can share that with all of you here on the show. So I appreciate that. And some more Trek talk for you folks. Always love having guests on from the Star Trek universe. Had quite a few on this past year. One memorable moment on the show was when I had Star Trek Picard star Todd Stashwick. He was joining me here on the Lair. He is also a fellow nerd, and he wasted no time in proving that. I'm impressed by your nerd lair. If you're watching this on the YouTube version, wow.
It's a thing.
Favorite piece of
slow.
Go ahead.
No, I said it's a slow evolving beast.
Aren't we all? Pick. What's your favorite? Is it within reach, arm's length? You got something?
Well, this right here is one of my favorites. It's a dice tower that my dearly departed father made for me.
Wow, this is the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing.
I'm literally, Joe, I'm literally sitting at my signature D&D table.
Yeah, you got to watch the YouTube version.
Zoom in on the signature there.
Todd's flinging the camera around. He's showing us the whole lair.
Oh yeah, you gotta look.
Wow.
Look, dude, I'm not messing around.
Wow.
There's a beholder. There's let's see here. There's a well, it's hard to see, but I can probably do a
now we're taking a tour.
Version.
Okay, if you're doing the audio version, just jump over to YouTube right now because he's taking us on a tour of the dungeon.
This is let me see here. All right.
This is the first on Comic Book Central.
Okay. See, there's my dragon.
Yeah, it is.
Can you see it?
Yeah. He's towering overhead, flying down at you. Yeah.
Yeah. He's something else. And then there's a goblin right there. Yeah.
Man. Oh, it looks a little gremlin-y. Is it like a little gremlin?
I think it's a Pathfinder goblin.
Okay.
As opposed to like a D&D goblin. Ain't that right?
Oh, wow. Oh, you just like, there's like flames and stuff.
Well, he gets a little jealous when I talk about the other creatures.
Wow. I think this might be the whole interview of just, there's like, forget Star Trek. We'll just
go around the lair. I take my whimsy seriously.
Yeah, it's the first time that happened on the show in all these years, in 11 years. A guest taking us on a tour of their lair. I did my best to describe it for the audio version of the podcast, but if you want to see that fire-breathing dragon, you know where to go. It's over on my YouTube channel, on the interview, the episode with Todd. Look, if you ever needed a reason to subscribe to Comic Book Central on YouTube, you don't need a reason, but that's it. So you can see Todd Stashwick's fire-breathing dragon. All right, speaking of fellow nerds, two friends of Comic Book Central return to the show. Actor-writer David Dastmalchian from The Flash, the Ant-Man films, The Suicide Squad. He teamed up with comics legend Todd McFarlane on a new comic book for Image Comics called Knights vs. Samurai. Great title. We talked about that, but look, come on. Todd McFarlane produces some of the best pop culture, sports, and superhero toys on the market. And David and I love our collectibles. Here is a cool moment where we decided that since we had a captive audience in Todd, maybe we could put in an order for some of our favorite toys. Indulge me one more moment. I've got my Wayne Manor library.
Oh, yeah.
I've got my Wayne Manor library. And thankfully, after forever, I have my Alfred figure with the feather duster to keep it spotless, to keep Wayne Manor spotless. When am I getting my Aunt Harriet action figure.
Oh man, she was awesome.
And I'm going to hold you to this. I'm holding you to this right now. We're announcing something today.
She was sassy. You know, we might have to do her as like an exclusive 2-pack or something, because I don't know. Like that's now we're going kind of obscure, but we'll get her. We'll get her.
A 3-pack of Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, and Aunt Harriet. A 3-pack.
Yeah, it has to be one of those kinds of things.
Can we announce that now? So I can complete my Wayne Manor. Sorry, David. I just had to.
I love watching you geek out,
David.
Joe.
He's fallen into the rabbit hole of geekdom right here.
I get it. I get it. When are you going to do a Remco Monsters line? I mean, I've got my Mad Laboratory and all the werewolf, the creature.
We're just hitting Todd from all sides. Yeah, still waiting for that Aunt Harriet and Dick Grayson 2-pack, Todd. Just saying. Anytime I will get put it here in the lair. All right, actor Neal McDonough, he dropped by recently. You know Neal from his roles as Damien Dark in Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow, and of course Dum Dum Dugan in the MCU. You might also recall his appearance as Lieutenant Hawk in Star Trek First Contact. I had heard a story about a memorable first contact that Neal made on the set of that film, and I thought I'd ask him about it. True or false? Patrick Stewart busted you while you showed up to the set a few hours early and you were imitating him, impersonating him?
I'm still embarrassed. So
that
I
happened?
called and I said, I would love to, since I'm flying the Enterprise, can I come to the set early my first day and just kind of like get into character and just and sit on the Enterprise? They're like, sure. How early? Like a half hour? And I'm like, no, like 3 hours. And they're like, okay, the only person who'll be there will be the janitor. And I'm like, great, that's no problem. So they got me in, and there I am, for 3 hours, I'm on the bridge. And I'm Shatner for a while, and I'm doing this. Then all of a sudden, now I'm working up a lather. I'm all like fire, and you're doing everything. It's just so goofy, corny. And then I break into Jean-Luc Picard, and then I'm doing Picard on the set, number 1, and I'm going off, and I'm just like frothing. And all of a sudden, I hear from about 25 feet behind, "You must be Lieutenant Hawk," and I could feel my whole face just turn bright red.
As you can tell, there have been a lot of incredible talents that I've welcomed to the show this past year, some big-time heavy hitters, and the hits don't come any heavier than from the Kingpin, or at least the incredibly talented actor who brings Wilson Fisk to life on Daredevil, which, by the way, returns in March with Daredevil Born Again. The great Vincent D'Onofrio, he dropped by the show to talk about his new children's book, which is fantastic. He talked about his iconic film roles, and of course, talked about his process in bringing Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin, to life. And during one question, Vincent dropped one of my favorite responses ever. Check it out. What is it about your approach to Fisk and how you've channeled Fisk that we haven't heard yet? A piece that you used in your technique in bringing him from the page to the screen that maybe we haven't had insight into yet.
Well, I'm very careful about this kind of stuff because it's the way I work as an actor is if you reveal too much of something that you're using, then that's not as potent as it could be, or the potency kind of fades away. But there have been a couple of events in my life that were very like all people go through, and there's one in particular that most of the time when when you see Fisk start to get emotional first and then agitated, and the thing about him is that the anger always comes from a deep emotional place and almost a kind of broken place, and so there's a event that I bring up as a method actor. I've learned to do that, to bring up events and then just speak the author's words through the emotion that's coming from that event. And so that's what's happening, in when I'm performing him, I'm doing that, and I'm reacting to the other actor and acting out through that event.
It's weird because as you were just describing that, you just scared the bejesus out of me, just for no reason. Just it's a talking to, because I'm like, Wow, he probably goes somewhere. You can't watch your own work, can you?
I could, I just don't. It's I find it to be.
I didn't mean you physically couldn't. Didn't have access to a Blu-ray.
No, I mean it's like I mean it's not like it would do me any damage if I did or anything, but it would. It's just that I don't find it. I prefer to watch somebody else's work than mine. I just have really no interest in it, and I feel like I know what it's about, and the whole thing for me is just delivering it to the audience, and and hoping that it works out okay. That's the big deal. The actual result of it, it's not for me to judge. It's not for me to get entertained by in any way. I rely on other actors and actresses to do that for me, other than myself.
Maybe my favorite line of the week ever. It's just the best reaction. Great interview, great guest this year, as always. If you missed any of these moments, any of these episodes, if you've missed any episode of Comic Book Central, nearly 500 of them out there, so there's a lot to check out. comicbookcentral.net, that's the website. They're all in the archive, as well as the show's page at Spreaker.com, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. Comic Book Central lair is there. And of course, you need to subscribe to that YouTube channel, man. Audio for when you're driving around. You got to keep your eyes on the road, but if you're chilling out in your lair, or you're hanging out somewhere, you got your device on you there, check out the video versions of the show. Let's get those subscription numbers up, folks. Come on, go in and share the lair. Tell everybody. Clickety-click on that subscription tab. All right, last item of business today. You longtime listeners know I always have a giveaway tied in with my anniversary celebrations. Yeah, it's my anniversary, but you get the gift. This year, going to do things a little bit different. If you've been following Comic Book Central on the socials, you know that the fine folks at Warner Brothers Home Video sent a copy of Super Friends, the complete collection on DVD, here to the lair. Yeah, that's right. Each and every episode of Super Friends, all in one collection.
In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Aquaman, and those 3 junior super friends, Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog. Their mission, to fight injustice, to right that which is wrong, and to serve all mankind.
I've got that collection on DVD right here. I did crack the seal. I took the plastic off and opened it up just to make sure everything was okay with the set. But it's never been played. It's brand new, brand spanking new. And I am going to give that away to one of you listeners out there, but not just yet. You got to wait a hot minute. Here's the deal. Like I said, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. For year 12 of the show, that's coming up, I've got so many great episodes and guests on tap. And one of those episodes is going to be my Super Friends tribute. I'm going to welcome back to the show my fellow podcaster, John S. Drew of the World's Greatest Super Friends podcast. You want to check that one out. And Will Rogers, author of the Ultimate Super Friends Companion, Volumes 1 and 2. If you don't have those books, go get them. They're going to return to Comic Book Central, and we will review Warner Brothers' fantastic release of Super Friends, the complete collection. On that episode, I will tell you how you can get your hands on the DVD collection absolutely free. Trust me, you want this set, and you do not want to miss our Super Friends special. So that's what I'm doing with the first anniversary giveaway this year. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. And one other giveaway that I've got, this year marked the 85th anniversary of Batman, and it also marked the 35th anniversary of the Batman feature film starring Michael Keaton. You might recall on episode 472, that was my Columbus Symphony special where I talked about Batman live in concert. Oh, that was so good. Well, on an upcoming episode, I'm going to welcome author John Jackson Miller to the show to talk about his new book, Batman Resurrection. You want to get your hands on that. That is a direct sequel to the 1989 Batman film. Stay tuned, because on that upcoming episode, I will have my second giveaway. That would be the Batman Returns action figure from Spin Master Toys. A lot of you out there are probably looking for that one. Well, I've got one right here in the lair. So whoever gets that, you don't have to look for it at all. I'll send it right to you. I'll be giving it away on an upcoming episode with author John Jackson Miller. Get his book. It is a good one, Batman Resurrection. And then stay tuned for my chat with John. That Batman Returns action figure giveaway, that's going to be on that episode. And with that, I will bring year 11 of Comic Book Central to a close. My thanks as always to my guests who drop by the lair to chat year in, year out, to the folks who welcome Comic Book Central to their conventions and let me record content to bring to you listeners, and of course, each and every one of you out there who tune into the show, who subscribe on the podcast platforms and the YouTube channel, who follow on the social media pages. You are the reason I do this show and that I will continue to do this show. And I love when you share the lair. Thanks to all of you out there who help get the word out about the show. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You are the best audience any podcaster could ever hope to have. Year 12, that is right around the corner. You want a preview of how I'm going to kick off year 12? All right, I'll give you a preview right now. Let's see. Let's talk stand-up comedy. All right, how about let's talk Mad About You? Let's talk The Boys. Getting the idea here. How about we chat about Stranger Things? Oh, hey, what if we talk about aliens? Even better, how about aliens, comic books? Yeah, you probably guessed it. My special guest that's going to help me kick off year 12 of Comic Book Central is none other than the great Paul Reiser. Paul is going to drop by. He's going to talk about all those things. It is one of the funniest conversations you're ever going to hear. We're even going to talk about a Popeye film that he wrote. Yeah, you heard me right. He wrote a Popeye film. And we're also going to talk about his latest film with Star Trek Deep Space Nine's called Meanie. It's called The Problem with People. Paul Reiser is going to be here. I'm going to be here. I know all of you will be here as well to help me kick off year 12 of Comic Book Central. Oh, it's just getting bigger and better. Until we get together again, keep safe, keep reading those comics, and thanks for joining me here in the lair. Comic Book Central, where comic books come to life. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Comic Book Central. All other content and names are registered trademarks and copyrights of their respective holders.
Would you know if you didn't work for almost a year?
Yeah, well, I did little things. I mean, I did a movie in Canada called Class of '84, which was, I think, about a bunch of students who axe murder their teachers. You know, that was a highlight of my career. But that was about. I was doing little things like that, and I was just trying to get by. You know, I had a sectional couch that I was selling section by section.
Oh, you're kidding?
No, I
selling off the furniture.
I sold. There's an actor who lived in my building, and I sold him my couch section by section. He still has it, I think.
We're going to take a short break, but we're coming right back. Stay where you are.